What he suspected to be a piece of glass turned out to be worth a whopping $250,000. It had been years of hope and disappointment, but as he strolled along the rough pathway and dusty bridges, he saw something that he'd never seen before. It was not like the other baubles he had gathered over his many visits, and soon, he would find out just how special it really was. Upon first glance, Kevin Kennard of Arkansas might have looked like your everyday sort of guy. He enjoyed traveling, spending time with his friends and the occasional part of a night out. However, the 33-year-old banker had a very interesting hobby that most people would have never guessed. It started at the second-grade school field trip that had most kids rolling their eyes or scrunching their noses. Going to a state park was certainly not anything to get excited over, but when his teacher told them what would be waiting for them and what they might be able to keep afterwards, the kids' interest skyrocketed. Ever since then, Kennard has made sure to go at least once a year to scratch his passionate itch, and even through the pandemic, he made sure his limited state travels included his ultimate hobby destination. So, when Labor Day rolled around, he and a group of friends piled into a car. However, he had no idea that his next trip would change his life. As he breathed in the warm air that was laced with the scent of pine and earth, the group chose their plot and dropped their gear. But for some reason, Kennard did not feel like going through the same motions they had gone through for the past couple of decades. It was a break in tradition that would end up making him a fortune. Instead of stooping and sifting, Kennard grabbed his bag and slowly wandered the freshly plowed rows of the state park. His heart would skip a beat anytime he saw something out of the ordinary. There were a few glistening shards that held a sliver of promise, and since the park had a finder's keeper's policy, everything was fair game. The sun had dipped far past noon, and Kennard's back was hurting from bending down so much. Maybe he should have used the traditional search method instead of simply wandering. However, out of the corner of his eye, the light caught something he had never seen before. It was dark, rough, and about the size of a large pea, but there was an interesting luminosity that made it quite lovely. The crazy thing was that it didn't spike Kevin's adrenaline like all the other times he had made a hopeful discovery. It was probably only a piece of old glass, Kevin thought as he shoved it in a little bag with his other vines and nearly forgot about it. Thankfully, his friends stepped in at the last minute. It was common practice for everyone in the park to take their discoveries to the main office and have an expert inspect to see if there was anything of value. He shrugged and dumped his stones onto the counter. The employee's attention went to the dark stone, and his eyes turned as huge as dinner plates. The man grabbed the stone and quickly ran back to the office. Kennard's heart started to pound frantically in his chest. Excited jitters began flowing through his body when he was asked to join them in the back, where the superintendent of the state park waited for him. Kennard could barely breathe. Why was this small park called the Crater of Diamonds? This is because millions of years ago, when volcanoes spewed lava all over the area, the discovery of diamonds had turned it into a mine. But there wasn't enough to make any significant profit in the 1950s. The state then took control and turned it into a tourist destination. Countless people, including Kennard, had sifted through the dirt, looking for precious gems. Most of the time, they were worthless or just pretty stones that made for a good holiday story. However, the stunned banker had to sit down when they told him that he had not only found a valuable diamond, but he had also discovered the second largest one in the history of the park. Weighing in at 9 carats, the value ended up at $250,000, but Kennard didn't care that there was easily a small fortune in his future if he wanted to sell it. That was the very last thing on his mind. He thanked the workers and rushed to his bank to put it in a safety deposit box. However, his boss did have one burning question. He asked Kennard if he was going to quit after learning of his impressive find. Kennard answered with an adamant no, as he was still young and wanted to work for now. The hobby that he'd started in second grade had ultimately paid off with a wealth of experience and memories. Kevin reminds people that it's not just about going to make money, Hobbies like these are all about having great moments with friends. This is also why he has officially named his discovery the Kinnard Friendship Diamond.